So we have some more news from behind the scenes about how Sean Hannity felt about his good friend Donald Trump when he was pushing all the election lies. And man, again, it is amazing to learn just what their private take is and then what their public take is, because it's so far apart. I mean, look, I'm the naive one here, right? Because my default tendency is to take people at face value. Whatever they say, I assume you believe it. I assume you're acting in good faith unless there's overwhelming evidence to the contrary. But I shouldn't be like that. I shouldn't, because there's so much evidence now, especially when it comes to media commentators or politicians. Whatever they say that's not actually what they believe. They're like posturing, you know what I mean, for a variety of different reasons. So here we go. Rupert Murdoch said Hannity was, quote, privately disgusted by Trump, but scared to lose viewers, according to new court filing. Okay. Here's some of the specifics from behind the scenes, and then we'll dive into it. On January 12th, Ryan discussed with Rupert and Lachlan an article called The Alternate Reality Machine about how the right-wing media ecosystem created an alternative reality for those who had come to rely on its outlets for news and were the enablers of January 6th. Ryan believed that, quote, some high percentage of Americans thought the election was stolen because they got a diet of information telling them the election was stolen from what they believe were credible sources. Rupert responded to Ryan's email, quote, thanks, Paul. Wake-up call for Hannity, who has been privately disgusted by Trump for weeks, but was scared to lose viewers. The filing added. Ryan replied, the sooner we can put down the echoes of falsehoods from our side, the faster we can get onto principled, loyal opposition. I truly hope our contributors, along with Tucker, Laura, and Sean, get that and execute. They did not. They would go on to do the opposite. See, this is amazing to me because, look, I'm in a similar position, at least in the sense that I'm a political commentator and they're political commentators. And that is never a consideration for me. Oh, if I say this, am I going to lose media people? If I say this, am I going to gain media people? None of that matters. What matters is the truth. What matters is the facts and then what I think about said facts. That's what matters. Nothing else should come into consideration if you take this job seriously and if you're authentic. Clearly, he is not authentic. Not by any stretch of the imagination. You're disgusted by Trump privately, but publicly you were giving him a smooth hand job every single night. And again, he's worried about slipping into irrelevance. This is massive audience capture. And by the way, the idea that Trump is a totally immovable object who's unbeatable, that to the extent that's true, which it's really not, but to the extent it is true, it is because of you guys not having the balls to ever stand up. So how could they have handled Trump? Look, he was historically weak right after January 6th, and he was also historically weak right after this recent midterm election loss. His approval rating was all the way down to 30%. He had functionally become irrelevant. So at either of those times, they could have made a decision, all the Fox hosts get together, hey, let's just come out and tell the truth on this thing, get it over with in one night, rip the Band-Aid off quickly, and then after you do that, they could pump up their boyfriend DeSantis, who they love anyway, and just don't mention Trump anymore. Just don't mention him anymore. You know, when he announces for president, okay, you have one line in your show. Oh, the former president announced he's running again. And then you go back to not talking about him. For them to not realize there was a way out of this is astonishing to me. And then they fear, oh, Newsmax and One American News Network are going to steal our audience. First of all, they don't have, their channel is not in nearly as many homes as Fox News. They're at a massive disadvantage up front. Second of all, they were clonked with a lawsuit over their lies first, and they had to backtrack. So you guys never had to lie. You guys never had to fear losing the audience to them. None of you had the balls or the spine to stand up to an obvious con man, fraud, liar who nearly did a coup, who tried to overturn the results of the election. If you can't draw a hard line on that, will you ever draw a hard red line? The answer is no. Because these are the same idiots and ghouls who propped up the Bush administration as they were doing illegal wiretapping and torturing and illegal wars. So there is no moral compass. There are no ethics. There is no code. There is no commitment to honesty and authenticity. It is literally just this. Where's the wind of the far-right base going? That's where we need to go. Not a leader among them. Not a leader among them. Look, guys, there should be zero difference between, if you're a political commentator, I know this is what I do, there should be zero difference between what your takes are off air and what your takes are on air. Any gap between those two things, and nobody should listen to you about anything ever. Because even if you fudge it on one or two things, it's like, okay, well, why should anybody take the rest of what you say publicly at face value? If we already know in at least one instance you're willing to fudge it, and the answer is nobody should. Nobody should. They could have done it right after January 6th. They could have done it right after these midterm losses. You do a detailed show going through exactly why the election rigging stuff is totally bogus. Will you lose some people in that first instance? Probably. But so be it. The next day you go right back to doing the thing you do. You suck up to your boyfriend DeSantis, who all you guys love anyway, and you just never mention Trump again, and eventually it's out of sight, out of mind. They act like it's inevitable, it's some law of nature, that this guy is their daddy, is their leader. And it's just like, no, you're all just little bitches. You're all just little bitches. That's all it boils down to. So anyway, nobody should take these people seriously. And even Rupert Murdoch saying like, oh yeah, I hope these people wake up. Well, hold on now. The two hosts that stood up and said this rigged election stuff is bogus, Shep Smith and Leland Vittert, they're not at the network anymore because they were punished for that take. So Rupert realized after a certain amount of time that, hey, this stuff is not really good, but he went along with it anyway. And therein lies the problem. So, again, just incredibly damning findings here. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.